Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about Spellcasters Chronicles, specifically my thoughts after spending time with the second beta. Now, if you haven't heard of Spellcasters Chronicles yet, this is a game that sits in a very interesting space. It's trying to blend a MOBA, a co-op RTS, and a third-person action game into one experience. You control a spellcaster directly from a third-person perspective, but instead of just fighting other heroes, you're also spawning minions, managing resources, rotating around the map, and most importantly, building a deck of spells and units before the match even begins. It's very ambitious, and ambition is probably the best word to describe this game overall. I've already shared thoughts after the previous beta, and after jumping into the second one, I want to go deeper, what works, what doesn't, and why I think this game has incredible potential, but also some serious challenges ahead. So let's break it down. First things first, this game is truly spectacular in terms of scale. The maps feel huge. The structures are massive, the spells effects are flashy without being completely unreadable, and when things start happening all at once, minions marching, spells flying, giants being summoned, it genuinely feels like a large-scale fantasy war unfolding in real time. There's a sense of grandeur here that a lot of MOBAs simply don't have. You're not just a hero in a lane, you feel like a commander who also happens to be on the battlefield. And that alone makes Spellcasters Chronicles stand out. Visually, the game sells its fantasy very well. When it works, it really works. Performance-wise, I did notice a slight improvement compared to the previous beta. Overall, things felt smoother with major stutters. That said, there were still small hitches here and there, nothing that completely broke the experience or caused me to lose a match, but enough to be noticeable. Here's the important part. On a mid to high-end machine, I was hovering around 50 frames per second. Now, 50 FPS is playable, sure, but it's also a warning sign. This is a competitive real-time game where awareness and responsiveness matter. If this is what mid to high-end hardware is getting in beta, optimization is going to be absolutely critical going forward. It didn't ruin the gameplay for me, but it's something that cannot be ignored. One of my biggest struggles during this beta, that had nothing to do with the mechanics themselves, it was finding a good teammate. Simply put, a lot of players I matched with didn't know what to do, and that had a very real, very negative impact on gameplay. This is a game that demands coordination. You can't really play it like a traditional MOBA where you just focus on your lane, auto-attack, and occasionally show up for a fight. But that's exactly what many players seemed to be doing. Most of the time, teammates were just spawning minions whenever they could and auto-attacking without much thought. No rotations, no strategic positioning of minions, no understanding of timing or pressure. And because of that, I rarely felt like I was experiencing this game's full potential. And honestly, that says a lot, not just about the players, but about the game itself. If players with less MOBA experience or RTS experience can so easily fall into bad habits, the game may need to do a better job teaching and reinforcing its core ideas. It also lacked the ping system that I mentioned last review, so you can't really communicate with your teammates other than the chat. Another big thing I noticed that the matches felt very long, and not just in a just one more turn kind of way. I caught myself looking at the timer multiple times during matches, and never for a good reason. Now, I actually really like this concept behind the win condition. There's a timer, and whoever destroys more of the enemy base by the end wins. That's clear, that's understandable, and it prevents infinite stalemate. The problem is how matches actually play out. Because I was often matched with players who, bluntly speaking, weren't very good or didn't understand the game, matches became one-sided slogs. Either we were dominating with no real resistance, or we were slowly losing with no way to recover. Neither scenario is particularly engaging when it stretches on for a long time. In terms of characters, I'd say they still feel a bit bland, but there is improvement. Balance-wise, things are clearer now, support feels like a support, damage feels like damage dealer, and tank feels like a tank. There's a big simplification, but it's also important. Roles are more defined than before, which helps readability and teamwork, at least in theory. The issue is that while roles are clearer, the characters themselves don't quite have that wow factor yet. They function well, but they don't fully stand out in terms of playability, personality, or unique playstyle. What Spellcasters Chronicles really wants from you is constant teamwork. You are expected to rotate, pay attention to how many minions you have left to spawn, decide where to place them, and adapt on the fly. This is not a relaxed experience, it demands focus. And honestly, I really wish I had played this beta with a coordinated team. I know I'm mentioning this again, but I feel like that would have completely changed my perception of the game. Because when you understand what the game is asking of you, it becomes much more interesting. For me personally, the best part of the entire game happens before the match even begins, the deck building. Crafting a deck feels meaningful, it's strategic, it's thoughtful, and it can genuinely give you a real advantage if you know what you're doing. I really hope this aspect of the game doesn't get simplified or lost in favor of easier, more accessible combat. And I tested 2 decks, one the default deck and the second focused heavily on turrets. The default deck felt like a complete package. You spawn minions, you heal them, you disrupt enemies with spells, and you eventually summoned the giant. It felt fair, versatile, and well-rounded. The heavy turret deck, on the other hand, didn't really work on its own, at least not in my experience. It felt like it needed very specific conditions or team support to shine. That said, I only played a handful of matches with it, so I may have missed its true potential. Still, the fact that the deck building even allows for these experiments is a huge plus. Now, let's talk about the things that didn't work for me. Roaming the map doesn't feel rewarding enough. The only real reason to move around is to help teammates. Chests exist, but the rewards from them don't feel particularly useful in my experience. Jungle minions also don't provide enough incentive. Maybe they're worth doing early for a level advantage, but beyond that they feel like a time sink. And when you're not in lane with your teammates, you're losing time. There are also no truly spectacular teamfights unless you want to count the absolute chaos that happens when a giant is summoned, which feels more like a cluster of effects than a coordinated fight. And this is where things get tricky. I'm honestly not sure how to balance or optimize this game to fix these issues. It's not that it's bad, it's just not exciting enough for me to personally want to spend tens of hours mastering every system. And I know that might sound weird or even hypocritical coming from someone who plays complex games, but for me there simply isn't enough there yet to keep me hooked long term. And if I'm not hooked, I'm definitely not thinking about buying cosmetics. I'm not gonna become a whale and, and so on. So overall, I stand by what I said after the last beta. Spellcasters Chronicles has incredible potential. The deck building system is a genuinely fresh and interesting approach to the MOBA genre, but right now it's not fully integrated into the moment-to-moment gameplay in a way that feels deeply satisfying. The game is trying to be a MOBA and a co-op RTS at the same time, from a third perspective, and that's an incredibly hard balance to strike. With random players who aren't accustomed to the kind of gameplay, I know this is a beta, I know this is an out, so not everyone has access, but it becomes stressful rather than fun. The gameplay loop is fine, it works, but I can easily see it becoming repetitive, and the standard MOBA elements, clear objectives, memorable teamfights, strong pacing are either missing or difficult to identify. This is a game I want to love. I just don't think it's there yet. If developers can refine the objectives, improve onboarding, and really lean into what makes this game unique, Spellcasters Chronicles could become something special. For now, it remains a very promising experiment. Those are my thoughts on the second beta of Spellcasters Chronicles. Let me know what you think, and did you play the beta? Did you have a coordinated team? Do you feel differently? If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
3, 2, 1, 0! You lost. Fate was not on your side this